high-temperature Doomsday. The water I worked so hard to find was generously given to the neighbors by my adoptive parents. They were praised by outsiders, while I became the selfish, ungrateful wretch in their mouths. When I opened my eyes, I had returned to before the apocalypse, facing the neighbor's plea for help. I generously invited everyone to our house as guests. Isn't it just about being beautiful and kind-hearted? I can play that game too. I distributed the water to everyone. You won't be angry, right? Zhang Xiaoson and I have known each other for so many years. I couldn't just watch him die of thirst. You really are an ungrateful wretch. We've been neighbors for so many years. What's wrong with sharing some water with everyone? It's just a bit of water. You can just go find more after it's gone. I demand you find that water back tonight. Otherwise, don't bother coming home. The yelling gave me a headache. I suddenly opened my eyes, finding myself still lying in the cramped storage room. The scenes from my dream were too bizarre. The extreme heat of over 56.8 degrees had lasted for 3 whole months without stopping. The entire world came to a complete standstill in order to survive. Humans had to go out to find drinking water. But I never expected that the water I desperately fought to bring back would all be given to the neighbors by my adoptive family. At the end of the story, I was sold by my adoptive parents for the price of 2 bottles of water to a psychopath, becoming a tool from which he drew blood every day. In the dream. Premier endurance a 30-point hit every day. To find water for my adoptive family. Yet, in the end, because I was reluctant to share the water with outsiders, I was accused of being selfish. Andrei Zhao Chenling raised her own twins to be plump and healthy, while beating and scolding me, her bought adoptive daughter, Li Yoki, pretended to be fair on the surface, but ultimately still drove me out of the house. As for Li Haokui and Li Haomeng, this sister and brother duo, the sister was a hypocritical and the brother White Lotus was hopelessly but using other people's things to highlight their own kindness. I rubbed my forehead, got up, and walked out of the storage room. My eyes caught a glimpse of a lottery ticket. My breathing suddenly hitched. In my dream, the ticket Li Yokai bought exact lottery ticket was only one last digit away from the 30 million first prize. I quietly took a photo of it and put it back in its place. On the way to the lottery shop, my heart was beating wildly. Whether everything in the dream was true or false would be proven soon. By evening, I curled up on my narrow single bed, holding 9 lottery tickets with different last digits in my hand. I was the lowest existence in this house, so I had no right to watch TV. I could only prick up my ears to listen to the sounds outside. Soon, the first prize numbers were announced. The hand holding the tickets trembled violently. I won a prize of 30 million. Even after taxes, there was 24 million. My tense emotions finally completely relaxed at this moment. At 5 a.m. the next morning, the sunlight was already glaringly hot. My shabby bedroom door was fiercely kicked by someone. Li Haomeng said impatiently, "I'm starving." "Aren't you going to get up and cook?" I silently got up, went to the kitchen, and prepared breakfast. I picked the most inconspicuous clothes and went out. Before leaving, Zhao Chunling stopped me and transferred 200 yuan to me. "It's too hot today. When you come back, bring an ice cream cake for your brother and sister. Get the flavor they usually eat. Don't waste the remaining money. Bring it back to me. Première Noded. Tournée d'around the house." When I was little, I also cried and made a fuss, asking why she bought food for my brother and sister, but not for me, because your brother and sister are younger than you. This excuse was used for 20 years. Later, I understood. What excuse did they need? It was simply that they didn't love me. Back then, Lee Yokai and his wife couldn't conceive a child. So they bought me from human traffickers. Who would have known that a few months later, Zhao Chunling would become pregnant with a pair of twins, from Tenon. My treatment in the family plummeted. Due to the huge prize amount, I had to travel to the provincial capital to claim it successfully. 4 million soon arrived in my bank card. I didn't dare stay outside too long. I bought the ice cream cake Zhao Chunling specifically asked for. And went home. That night, from the living room came the joyful laughter of the family. I lay on my small bed, calculating the usage of this 24 million. You shouldn't put all your eggs in one basket. So, this money had to be managed separately. After all, when the high temperature apocalypse ended, humanity would have to return to normal life. I wasn't comfortable leaving all the money in the bank. Who knew if the banks would go bankrupt after the apocalypse? So I decided to first take out 2 million and exchange it for gold to keep on hand. And we then went all emergencies. Finally, deposit 2 million in the bank and use the remaining 18 million to rent a house and hoard supplies. Wandering around outside every day, not even bothering to find a job. Do you know what all the neighbors say about you? Zhao Chunling poked her finger hard against my forehead, her face full of frustration at my uselessness. In order not to let her notice anything unusual, I had to forcefully endure her complaining for over an hour. The moment I stepped out of the house, I took a deep breath. This couple did indeed raise me. But after all these years of working like a donkey and a dog, I had paid them back. Miss Lee, out of these villas, which one caught your eye the most? I'll take you to see it right now. Looking at the villas in front of me, my gaze fell on the last one. The further inside these villas were, the cheaper they were. The monthly rent for that innermost one was only 50,000 yuan, and it was completely ready to move in. I signed a 1-year contract on the spot. After the agent helped me register my fingerprints, he left, so I immediately contacted a renovation team. Originally, I only wanted to apply a layer of thermal insulation, paint to the walls, and install some solar panels. But I didn't expect to find an unexpected surprise. This wouldn't be an air raid shelter, would it? Looks like a storage room to me. Boss, if you're worried, I can go in with you to take a look. Stack the pinning that was constantly blowing out cold air. My face showed no emotion. If it really was an air raid shelter, bunker, when the apocalypse descended, wouldn't this clearly be a free, giant air-conditioned room? But if I let others know about it now, no matter who it was, my risk would greatly increase. Let's not look at it for now. I don't need that much space, anyway. Just finish the work outside first. I suppressed the joy in my heart. After they all finished their work and left, I turned on my phone's flashlight and explored the cave alone. The space inside was massive, seemingly bottomless. I raised my hand to touch the wall. It seemed a bit damp. A continuous, cool breeze blew past, making me, on this 38.6-degree summer day, shiver slightly. That same afternoon, I bought 1,000 bags of quicklime. Because the bunker was too deep, and time was tight, I could only temporarily brush over the space in the bunker that was large enough for future living and storing supplies. I also placed a lot of desiccants This bunker must have nearly a century of history. It was hard for outsiders to know about it. DYE. My safety guarantee was greatly strengthened, seeing that the sky had grown dark. I locked the doors and windows and headed home. The apartment building where the Li family lived was opposite the villa area. You could see it just by opening the window. Sao Qianling would occasionally complain about Li Yoki being incompetent. The family could only look at the villa area across from them with envy, never coming home all day. Are there multi-million-dollar business deals waiting for you to negotiate? Xiao Chunling rolled her eyes at me in annoyance. I remained expressionless. Well, wasn't it exactly a multi-million-dollar business deal? Later, I really had to think carefully about how to best spend this 10 million plus. After Zhao Chunling finished cooking dinner for the family, I went back to my room to start planning the supplies I needed to buy. In another week, the temperature would climb rapidly. The daytime high could reach a terrifying 40.0 degrees. And this was only the apocalyptic heat I had experienced before. It was not the absolute limit of the high temperature apocalypse. Thinking of those scenes from my past life, I pursed my lips, knowing I had to prepare. There's one more thing. With so many people in the villa area, the chance of completely avoiding others' sight while hoarding supplies was almost zero. And once my supplies were exposed, there would be endless trouble later. Right now, the only way was to use renovation as an excuse. The supplies in with the building materials to cover them up. Or putting some supplies out in the open in the villa. Once people looted those, the bunker would be safe. In my past life, the without sting. This time, who knows how long we'd have to endure it. So I had to prepare more just in case. Before taking action, I first made a long shopping list. First was food. Perhaps many people's first instinct would be to hoard rice and flour. But rice and flour are just raw materials to make them into cooked food. You also need fuel and water. Moreover, rice and flour easily attract bugs. Hoarding too much of them is actually not cost-effective. So the first only ordered 200 catties of flour and 500 catties of no-wash rice, plus another 1,000 catties of miscellaneous grains, noodles, vermicelli, and potato noodles, 200 catties each, egg noodles, dragon beard noodles, and hand-rolled noodles in vacuum packaging, 200 catties each, instant noodles, self-heating hot pot, and self-heating rice, 777 boxes each. Bread, air-dried beef, chocolates, biscuits, cow and goat milk powder, walnut drink, 8 treasure porridge, and various freeze-dried nuts, fruits, and vegetables. For every flavor, I ordered 888 boxes. Luncheon mea compix, canned beef, and canned tuna. I ordered 999 boxes of each. Fresh goods could be bought in smaller quantities, but for other supplies, I needed to hoard at least enough for 5 years. I hoarded 5,000 cases of bottled mineral water, which has the longest shelf life, and hoarded another 100 large jugs of water, with the 2 most important items ordered. Next was to prepare various daily necessities. Various clothes, bed sheets, duvet covers, disposable underwear, toothpaste, toothbrushes, shampoo, body wash, toilet paper, and sanitary pads, although some supplies might spoil due to shelf life. Stocking up more now was better than regretting it later. Most importantly, I hoarded 3,000 boxes of wet wipes. When the time came, I could use them to wipe my whole body. At 4 a.m. the next morning, the sun was already glaring enough to hurt the eyes. Première cigade. This storage room was really stuffy and hot. The phone's weather app showed today's maximum temperature as 41.0 degrees. Looking at it made my heart race. I didn't expect it would get even hotter in the future. I had no choice but to resign myself to getting Zhao Chunling was also awake. Seeing me obediently going to the kitchen to prepare breakfast, she curled her lip, unable to find any fault with me. After breakfast, I headed straight to the wholesale market. After buying everything on the list, I agreed on a delivery time with them. Although the villa had solar panels installed, under temperatures reaching hundreds of degrees, who knew if those panels would still work? So I picked out 20 quiet generators and bought a matching 3,000 cans of gasoline as backup. I ordered 50 air cooler fans and 50 mini freezers. For cooking, I ordered cassette stoves, gas canisters, and alcohol blocks, 888 boxes of each. I also got baseball bats, retractable bayonets, axes, and other self-defense tools. Finally, I went to the pharmacy to buy some common medicines, especially Huaxian Genki liquid for heat stroke, cooling oil, and cooling patches. I hoarded 10,000 boxes of each. In the afternoon, I received the goods at the villa, Force Affetti. I had the delivery workers unload the supplies in the living room, and then they left. I would personally move all the supplies into the bunker. Until it got dark. I had only moved 1/5 of it. Picking up my phone. It was full of unread messages from Zhao Chunling, all questioning why I wasn't back to cook yet. Thinking about how I'd be scolded if I went back, I looked down and replied, "I'm taking a shift at the supermarket, daily wage 200. I'll be back in a couple of days, then work hard. Don't waste the money. When you get back, I'll help you save it." With the air conditioner blowing bursts of cool air, I had a rare, good night's sleep. When I opened my eyes the next day, it was already noon. The sunlight outside was toxic. The first feeling upon opening the curtains was blinding brightness. I quickly pulled the curtains back. I took out my phone and checked the weather forecast. 41.2 degrees. Itaderizen bizirate. As soon as I opened the door, a rolling heatwave hit my face. As if it wanted to melt a person. I began to feel glad. Aspi bolse, a crafty rabbit, has 3 burrows. Although the bunker in the villa was hidden. What if something happened? I didn't dare gamble. So, while moving supplies into the bunker, I also searched for available rental properties nearby. Fortunately, I had good luck. I managed to directly rent a first floor in the building opposite the Lee families. It was 70 square meters, connected to a 20 square meter basement. The basement was 5 meters high, and opening its door led straight to the underground parking lot. I paid for a year's rent upfront. Taking advantage of the night, when no one was around, I used a local delivery service and spent another 500,000 buying some basic supplies for it. Oh me. Xiong. Buying so many things. Must have cost a lot of money, right? Granny Wong from downstairs looked shocked. Granny, it was just a few thousand yuan. The weather is so hot now, I wouldn't feel at ease if I didn't stock up a bit. I answered with a smile, while leading the workers toward the elevator. On the way, I bumped into several neighbors coming home from work. They didn't say anything, but their faces all revealed mocking expressions. I lowered my head, hiding the smile at the corners of my mouth, in order to let them know the Lee family had a large amount of supplies. I specifically chose the time they got off work to bring them back. Inti life. I'd play the role of the great philanthropist for them to see. I'm dying of heat. Itus bien overforhydrate. Are they trying to kill us? Lee Haomeng slumped on the sofa, his fat body sweating profusely, cursing incessantly. Juste then, à Fonran. A notice was sent to the homeowners group chat due to the extreme heatwave. The community supermarket will suspend operations for 3 days starting tomorrow. For the impact this will have on everyone's daily lives, we sincerely apologize. Please make preparations in advance. Even the supermarket is closing. Zhao Chunling frowned instinctively. No one's coming to work. Of course, it's closing. Li Yoki showed a rare trace of kindness toward me. Luckily, Xiang bought enough supplies in advance. Otherwise, our family would be completely screwed. I put on a flattering smile. In my past life, 100 degrees. I went to the supermarket to buy 2 cases of water. When I got back, my skin was scorched. Yet Li Yokai called me selfish for refusing to share the water with the neighbors. This time, I wanted to see if their family could still be as selfless as in my previous life. The temperature continued to climb. Beyond AM, the temperature was already up to 45.0 degrees. The air conditioner had long become just a decoration. I was cooking in the kitchen when the range hood suddenly buzzed and stopped spinning. The power went out. I can't take this anymore. A power outage on top of such hot weather. Are they trying to kill us? At the same time, the sound of an ambulance echoed from downstairs. This was already the 5th emergency call today. That evening, I lay on my small bed, tossing and turning, unable to sleep from the heat. My phone continuously updated with news of people dying from the heat. Everywhere. Someone published a piece of data. In just a few hours, hospitals received nearly 10,000 heatstroke patients. And these were just the ones discovered and successfully sent for medical treatment. As for the undiscovered corpses, under the influence of the heat, they would rot quickly. To prevent this from happening, the property management would register the residents' status every morning and evening. Brother Meng, my family is completely out of water. Can I borrow some? A male classmate came to our door, his face red, begging for help. Li Haomeng's heart softened instantly. Zhao Qianlin kind persona hurriedly brought out water and drinks from the kitchen. Auntie, you're so wonderful. Only you are willing to lend me water. Your whole family is truly the kindest people I've ever met. Zhong Xiaoson's stream of flattery instantly made Zhao Chunling smile from ear to ear. Li Yokai frowned. But, putting face above all else, he ultimately didn't ask him to leave. I stared at the sunburns on Zhong Xiaoson's face, the corners of my mouth curling up slightly. Your face is sunburned, isn't it? I remember Kwikwi has a bottle of sunscreen, right? Bring it out and let Xiaoson use it. Why should I? I bought that by saving up my allowance for a long time. I don't even bear to use it myself. How much is a bottle of cream worth? We're all classmates here. You're being too stingy. If you act like this, who will dare to be friends with you in the future? Seeing Li Haomeng's words getting more and more out of line, Li Yokai's face darkened. Bang! Is that how you talk to your sister, Aunt Kwikwi? Go get your bottle out. Under the pressure of the head of the household, Li Haokui didn't dare to resist. She could only return to her room and obediently comply to appease Li Haokui. When Zhao Chunling handed out bread, she deliberately skipped me. I didn't care either. I just went straight to my room and locked the door, because just now, my phone's surveillance app was frantically notifying me of intruders at the villa. A group of young men in property management uniforms brazenly broke down the door and entered. One of them looked extremely smug. I told you this house hoarded a lot of goods. The owner isn't here, so this is all ours for the taking. Stop talking nonsense and hurry up and carry it out. Stuff. It'll be enough for us to eat for a while in the living room. The supplies I had deliberately left behind were of all kinds. This group of people spent a full 4 hours carrying it out, before clearing out the supplies in the living room. After the property management, several more dark figures sneaked into the villa under the cover of night. But they all returned empty-handed. Watching the supplies I worked so hard to hoard being robbed, I instead breathed a sigh of relief. Now that the supplies in the villa had been robbed in front of so many people, the neighbors' attention on the villa in the future should decrease significantly. According to reports, yesterday the equator's temperature broke new records again, reaching an unprecedented 50.0 degrees. Yesterday, a sudden fire broke out in the world's largest national park. The fire has burned for a week and still hasn't been extinguished. It has turned into scorched earth. Experts say that domestic temperatures over the next month will continue to rise. Please take precautions and avoid going out unless necessary. Watching the news notifications popping up on my phone, I couldn't help but feel dizzy and nauseous. As the temperature continued to rise, it was clearly reaching the limit of human endurance. I quickly chugged a bottle of Huaxian Genki liquid and applied cooling oil to the parts of my body that dissipated heat the fastest. Outside the door, Zhao Chunling couldn't help but complain to Li Yokai. It's so strange. Why are so many people asking to borrow supplies from me these past 2 days? I'm not even close to them. I also received a lot of private messages. Just ignore them. Aoxiong, your brother and sister are young. I'm taking them to the basement to escape the heat. You stay here and watch the house. I know exactly how many supplies are in the house. Don't you dare sneak any food. Zhao Chunling's warning came from outside the door. Sneaking food? Biffy, I endured living under their noses for so long. Just for today, didn't I? After the whole family left, I walked into the kitchen. Currently, all the family's supplies were here. To the residents who had been asking for supplies in the group chat lately, I sent a mass message. Come to room 704. We have supplies here. We can share some with you. Soon, a dozen households dragged their families toward 704. I generously brought out water and food. Everyone, please eat your fill. There are still plenty of supplies in the kitchen. From the kitchen to the living room. Seeing so much made everyone's eyes turn red. By the time Li Yokai's entire family returned, the living room was already littered with garbage. Seeing the canned meat that they couldn't even bear to eat themselves opened and eaten by others, Zhao Chunling's face looked terrible. I pretended to be scared and asked cautiously, Dad, Mom, I'm sorry. I saw that everyone was so pitiful. I couldn't help but share some food with them. Please don't be mad at me. Iringti. The crowd's gaze towards Li Yokai and his wife immediately became strange. Zhao Chunling obviously didn't expect me to say this and had to force back the angry scolding she was about to spit out. You just calculate the price of this food. We'll give you the money. Just treat it as if we bought it with money. Yes, exactly. You shouldn't blame Shangxiang. After all, she had good intentions. Wanting to buy food at its original price. Do they think people are fools? Who doesn't know that the supermarkets outside are closed and you can't buy supplies even if you have money? Li Yokai suppressed his anger. He also knew that hiding a large amount of supplies at this time would incur public wrath. He had to force a smile. What is this child saying? Helping each other is the right thing to do. You helped so many people. We are very proud. Really, that's great. I knew Dad and Mom were both kind-hearted people. I fought hard to suppress the corners of my mouth from turning, listening to them praise my beauty and kindness, phrase by phrase. So being a holy mother feels this good. Early, the next morning, I was awakened by Zhao Chunling's scream. Opening the door. The living room was crowded with people again, looking at Lee Haokui standing among the crowd. I couldn't help but hook my lips into a smile. She must have seen me steal the spotlight yesterday and learned from it. Inviting so many people over as guests early in the morning. But the people she invited this time were clearly much more thick-skinned. When this group left after eating and taking things, they only left the Lee family with a few bottles of water and instant noodles. Yokai and his wife, suffering just to save face, actually allowed them to take the supplies away. The moment the crowd left, Lee Yoki raised his hand and slapped Lee Haokui hard. I subconsciously covered my face, even through a door. I could feel his anger skyrocketing. Lee Haokui looked up in disbelief. Dad, why did you hit me? Because you deserve it. Do you even know who those people are? And you dare bring them home? Yesterday, Lee Haoxiang also invited outsiders to the house as guests. Why are you only hitting me? Very good. She played the anger deflection card well. Sure enough, Lee Yokai's attention was shifted. I was afraid that the two of them would storm into the storage room in the next second and give me a mixed double beating. So I simply held up my phone and walked out. The T-Mart outside the community has opened for business. I still have some money left, so I might as well go hoard some more supplies. Saying that, I walked towards the door. Going out to hoard supplies was just an excuse. It was that seeing the family's supplies were almost depleted, I found a reason to leave. I couldn't stay at the Lee house anymore. Otherwise, when they came back to their senses, who knew what crazy things they would do? I glanced at my phone. The outdoor temperature was 50.0 degrees. This was the highest temperature recorded so far. Waves of hot air desperately drilled into my body. Every single pore on my entire body felt like it was about to explode on the spot. I stumbled toward the villa area. The streets were completely empty, except for a few human corpses scorched to a crisp. From the Lee family's house to the villa, it was barely an 800-meter distance, but it took me a full 40 minutes. The moment I pushed open the villa gate, I was completely exhausted. The living room was a mess. That property management gang took everything they could. They didn't even leave a single hair behind. I locked the main door and crawled unsteadily towards the bunker entrance. Pushing open the hidden blast door, a rush of cool air poured out. My body heavily fell onto the dry concrete floor of the bunker. I finally felt alive again. I got up and slumped onto the sofa, chugging 3 bottles of water before recovering. Looking down at my arm, blisters had already formed on the exposed skin. I'm afraid one more step and I couldn't have escaped disaster. Thinking of those members of the Lee family, I took out my phone and connected to their surveillance cameras to constantly monitor the movements of Zhao Chunling's family. I had specifically spent a lot of money buying that solar-powered microcamera. During the afternoon, a few more neighbors brazenly went to borrow supplies. Unfortunately, the little supplies left in the kitchen had been eaten and taken by the people Lee Haokui invited. What remained wasn't even enough for themselves. How could they bear to give it to others? I watched on the monitor as the Lee siblings, for a sip of water, fought until their heads bled. I smiled, in this life. Facing the two children he loved equally. I wonder what choice Lee Yokai would make. Turning off the monitor, I sucked on a popsicle. The air cooler fan in front of me blew out wind. But I still felt the temperature inside the bunker gradually rising. Although it was much better than the 40+ degree hell outside, the temperature in this life was rising much faster than in my memory. I needed to think of a way, otherwise this bunker would eventually turn into an oven. After some searching, my gaze finally fell on the deepest part of the bunker. This cave in front of me was bottomless. Perhaps the further in I go, the cooler it will be. Thinking this at all back. And couldn't help but walk deeper inside. The temperature inside the cave, as I went deeper, was indeed gradually decreasing. 10 minutes later, a stone door appeared at the end of the cave. The rough stone slab was embedded in the cave wall, with a circle of gaps around the edge. I leaned in close to look. Strange patterns were carved into the stone door, like some kind of runes. When I touched it, it was biting cold. I pushed it hard, but the stone door didn't budge. I groped along the edges again, and felt a protrusion in the lower right corner. The moment I pressed it, the stone door suddenly looked like it was torn open. The edge glowed with a faint blue light, and freezing air frantically poured out from this rift. I tentatively threw a rock inside. The rock passed through the rift and disappeared. Waiting for a few minutes with no reaction, I threw in a piece of tissue paper. The paper floated into the darkness and also disappeared. What the hell is this thing? I walked around the cave wall and aside from that bizarre rift. In the corner, I found several crystals glowing with blue light. The moment I touched them, the burning blisters on my arm unexpectedly vanished completely. Excitedly, I gathered all the crystals into my backpack, ready to retreat to the bunker to study them. The moment I turned around, the rift suddenly emitted a blinding blue light. When I opened my eyes, a small, thin figure stumbled out, holding a dagger made of ice. Inyond. His face was frozen red, his lips chapped, and he was vigilantly observing his surroundings. Obviously, he was in a state of extreme dehydration. So, I took a bag of rice from my backpack, along with bread and 2 bottles of water, and tossed them to him. When the boy saw the food and water, his eyes lit up. He practically snatched the bottle and chugged it down. Only after he had eaten and drunk his fill did he raise his head and stare at me with those ice blue eyes. It's not only warm here, but there is also liquid water and food. Are you a fairy? The boy hugged his arms tight, seemingly feeling uncomfortable in my warm environment. Only then did I notice that the cold air pouring out from the rift behind him caused the bunker's temperature to plummet by at least 10 degrees. Where did you come from, fairy sister? My home is in Icetown. The temperature there is around -100 degrees year-round. I was just hunting ice rats. I don't know how I ended up here. As soon as he finished speaking, rift suddenly shook violently. The blue light flashed rapidly. The boy's body distorted, slowly being sucked back towards the rift. I think I have to go home. Can I come find you next time? A thought flashed through my mind. I turned and sprinted to the storage area, grabbed a case of mineral water, and feverious self-heating hot pots, ran back and threw them to the boy. He froze for a second, then immediately understood my intention. A smile bloomed on his frostbitten face. Fairy sister, Mina Miao. Tomorrow, at the same time, I'll bring local specialties to trade for food. He held the supplies and disappeared into the rift. The wall returned to its original state. I stood in place, my heart pounding wildly. I took out the blue crystals from my backpack. They were still cold to the touch. I wasn't dreaming. Just as I wanted to examine them closely, my surveillance app sent multiple notification alerts. I tapped the screen, and the footage of the Li family came into view. Where is the water? Didn't we hide 3 bottles yesterday? Li yokai ransacked the cabinets. So angry, he kicked the wall. Li Haokui shrunk in the corner of the sofa, whispering. Yesterday, Xiaoson, said the elderly, in his family, had heat stroke. So brother, while you guys were sleeping, took 2 bottles of water to give to him. Then there should still be 1 bottle left. Zhao, Chunling questioned shrilly. Daughter. I saw Granny Wang was pitiful, so I gave her half a bottle. Li Haokui's voice got quieter and quieter. Zhao Chenling slumped softly. Un toi cher, panting heavily, burning with rage. Li Yoki hoarsely ordered Li Haomeng to get out of the house. As a result, without saying a word, he turned and rushed back to his room. A few minutes later, holding a bulging bag, he walked towards the door. That was the family's last reserve of food. 5 packs of compressed biscuits, 3 boxes of chocolates, and the half bottle of mineral water Chunling had just hidden away. Liao Mong, put those things down. Saying that, Zhao Chunling lunged at him. But she was violently shoved away by him, head hitting the corner of the table. Her forehead instantly bled profusely. Seeing this, Li Yokai was just about to step forward, but Li Haomeng pulled out a dagger from his waist. With red eyes, he roared, "Whoever dares to come over, I will fight them to the death, today." After speaking, he opened the door and rushed into the boiling hot corridor. Zhao Chunling clutched her bleeding forehead. Sitting on the ground, crying uncontrollably, Li Yokai looked at the closed door, and then at the mess in the house. Suddenly, it was as if he had aged 10 years. Li Haokui immediately dug out the medical kit, frantically trying to bandage her mother. The moment the cotton swab touched the wound, Zhao Chunling slapped it away. "Be gentle. Are you trying to kill me with pain?" Li Haokui aggrievedly stepped aside. "En mutered. It's not like I'm the one who pushed you. What did you say? Un premier vron. From childhood until now, you guys only ever cared about my brother. Now look what happened. He took the last bit of food in the house away. Are you satisfied now? How dare you talk to your mother like that?" Li Yoka suddenly stood up from the side. But his body stiffened, and he collapsed straight backward. He already had a severe heart condition. He probably never expected that he would be literally angered to death by his own 2 children, looking at her fallen father and her mother wailing, "On the floor." Li Haokui suddenly revealed a crazed sneer. She grabbed the ashtray nearby and viciously smashed into the back of the defenseless Zhao Chunling's head. Don't blame me. I heard the human body is 70% water. You want me to live on well too, right? Liashin. She dragged the unconscious Zhao Chunling toward the bathroom. This time, room 704, which used to be noisy with arguments and laughter, became completely silent. My stomach churned. I turned off the monitor, not wanting to watch anymore. The Li families, and was entirely their own doing. Night fell. The temperature in the bunker remained at a comfortable 26 degrees. I boiled a bowl of spicy cheese chunking noodles. added a braised egg and sausage, and ate while waiting. At exactly 11 p.m., the blue light faintly glowed deep in the bunker again. The rift slowly opened, and Ayan's figure appeared. This time he carried a huge animal skin sack. He pulled a pile of things out of the sack. Fairy sister, can this be traded for some water and food on the Grand Blue Crystal? 3 yellowed scrolls, a shivering little creature, and some plant roots I had never seen before. These are ice crystals, the hard currency from our place. Holding them in your hand maintains body temperature, and grinding them into powder treats frostbite. These are preservation scrolls. Stick them on any container, and the contents inside won't spoil for a year. These are snow potatoes. Eaten raw, they're crisp and sweet and very filling. He then poked the small beast. The little guy let out a sharp cry and sprayed a small puff of white, freezing air. This is an ice lizard. It can blow cold air. I picked up a preservation scroll. It felt like parchment, with complex patterns drawn on it. I also petted the ice lizard. The little guy was only the size of a palm, covered in fine fuzz. I'll take all of these. I then pushed 2 cases of mineral water, 10 meat cans, 5 self-heating rice meals, and a bunch of chocolates, biscuits, and instant noodles. To Ayan, what we lack least here is food. But we lack things that cool things down. Can you bring more ice crystals? And these scrolls in the future. I can trade food for them long term. Ayan looked at the pile of food and nodded vigorously. We lack food the most. Although snow potatoes can fill the stomach, eating them for too long leaves people weak and sick. Wheat there's. My sister won't starve to death this winter. Before he could finish, the rift vibrated violently again. Time's up. Ayan frantically stuffed the supplies into his sack and waved goodbye with a smile. The rift closed. I picked up an ice crystal and held it in my hand. A cool aura spread through my arm to my whole body. So refreshing, it made me sigh in relief. I then tried putting a scroll on a storage box full of vegetables. With a flash of light, the scroll melted into the box and disappeared. I opened the box. The cabbage that had started to wilt was now crisp and green again, with water droplets still hanging on it. Satisfied, I placed the ice lizard on the sofa. The little guy got active after adjusting to the temperature, crawling around on the cushion, occasionally puffing out cold air. The bunker's temperature dropped by another 2 degrees. That night, I slept exceptionally well. The next morning at 6 a.m., the outdoor thermometer read 38.7 degrees. But here, it was still a pleasant 26 degrees. I finished washing up and leisurely cooked a bowl of shrimp wontons for breakfast. During the day, I organized the remaining supplies and studied the properties of the ice, trying different methods to activate their cooling effects. In the evening, I cooked a pot of snow potato and cured meat rice. The cooked snow potatoes emitted a slight white cold mist. They were sweet and refreshing, and after swallowing, my throat felt cool and comfortable. This was simply top-tier enjoyment in the apocalypse. That night, the rift opened on time. Ayan brought even more things this time. 20 ice crystals, 10 preservation scrolls, 2 ice lizards, and a bag of crystal-clear ice rice. This is cold kingdom rice. Naturally cold. Only the nobles in our place can can afford to eat it. I traded the chocolate you gave me last time for it. As usual, I gave him even more food. And added some canned fruits. And a large bag of candy. How cold does it get during winter there? At its coldest, minus 150 degrees. Every winter, many people freeze. And starve to death. Last year, in our village, less than half the people survived. Première facile. The high temperature, apocalypse, and the low temperature, both were truly hell. These ice lizards. What do they eat? How do I raise them? They eat anything edible. The more they eat, the faster they grow. When they grow up, a single ice lizard can keep a room at a comfortable temperature. After seeing Aeon off, I began to plan for the future. Although the bunker was safe, it was ultimately just a hiding place. If the extreme heat continued, I would need more space, more resources, more reliable partners, and those ice crystals. If they could really cool things down stably, perhaps I could build a truly comfortable apocalyptic sanctuary. The 3 ice lizards grew very fast. They grew from the size of a palm to the size of a cat. The cold air they sprayed could keep the entire bunker at around 15 degrees. I used 5 preservation scrolls, sticking them on boxes storing vegetables, fruits, meats, medicines, and books. That evening, I was cooking ice rice. On se cooked. Every grain was crystal clear, still emitting a faint white mist. Just as I was immersed in the world of gourmet food, unable to extricate myself, suddenly vibrated wildly. The alarm system for the entire villa area went off. I rushed to the monitor and saw a shocking scene. The community gates were smashed open, and over 100 people swarmed in. They were in rags, their eyes filled with madness, holding various tools in their hands. They smashed every door they saw and broke every window they found. Screams and the sounds of smashing rose and fell. Because my villa was located further in. But the crowd was moving in this direction. I calmly turned off all the lights, locked the bunker entrance tight, and picked up an ice lizard sitting in front of the monitor, tightly gripping a boning knife in my hand. Out of the corner of my eye, I spotted a familiar face in the crowd. Liao Mong. He was actually still alive. I saw him holding an iron pipe, looking excited, saying something continuously, heading straight for my villa along with the crowd. This is the house. It's been constantly emitting cold air recently. They seem to have an air conditioner. The crowd instantly boiled over, raising their weapons to frantically smash the door. I tightened my grip on the knife, without me knowing when. An ice lizard had also slipped to the window, curiously watching the crazed crowd outside. Someone caught a glimpse of and exclaimed, "What is that thing?" "Who cares what it is? Smash it open and let's see." An iron pipe smashed heavily against the glass. Cracks expanded, startled. The ice lizard let out a sharp shriek and sprayed a massive amount of white, freezing air. The cold air poured out through the cracks. The few people at the very front instantly shivered. "It's so cool. There really is an air conditioner inside." They became even more crazed. Li Haomeng forcefully squeezed to the front and used all his might to smash the glass. Shards fell all over the ground. But, in that moment, the ice lizard shrieked again. Titim, what it sprayed were countless tiny ice crystal shards. Li Haomeng, who was right at the front, had countless bloody cuts slashed across his face and body. He clutched his face, screaming as he fell to the ground. There's a monster inside. Some people screamed and retreated, but even more people were blinded by the allure of coolness and food. Charging forward desperately, I immediately took out all my ice crystals. I found a spray bottle, filled it with water, ground 5 ice crystals into powder, and mixed them in. Walking to the breach, I pressed the spray nozzle towards the crowd outside. The mist, mixed with highly concentrated ice crystal powder, condensed rapidly in the air, forming a zone of freezing fog. The people who rushed into the fog instantly thawed. Under such an extreme temperature difference, the crowd couldn't bear it and scattered, fleeing for their lives. I breathed a sigh of relief, looking at Li Haomeng's corpse on the ground. It was already frozen solid and deformed. I pulled the thick curtains I temporarily prepared to block the breach. The 3 ice lizards lay by my feet, making purring sounds, as if comforting me. The next day, I temporarily sealed the windows with steel plates. At the same time, using the ice crystal powder, I made more cooling sprays evenly around the villa. I placed these ice fog traps. As long as someone touched the trigger wire, it would spray out a low temperature mist that instantly gave frostbite. I unexpectedly became a terrifying legend spread by word of mouth among the survivors. Rumors are the best talisman. No need to clarify them. In a blink, 3 months passed. The outdoor temperature stabilized at 50 to 0.5 degrees. The surface had become a purgatory. Cities were in ruins, and rivers had dried up, but my bunker's temperature stayed constant at around 18 degrees. 10 ice lizards, like well-behaved cats, patrolled the cave. They had already grown to the size of dogs. The cold air they sprayed was enough to maintain the comfort of the entire space. 999 preservation scrolls kept all the supplies as fresh as ever. And the rift, in the deepest part, became a door connecting to worlds. Ayan became a regular guest. His sack got bigger every time. Besides ice, crystals, and scrolls, he started bringing more practical things. Illuminating moss seeds, red warm stones that generated heat, and vessels carved from ice. In exchange, the food I gave him became richer and richer. When the rift opened that day, he brought an invitation. Fairy sister, the village chief wants to see you. This is the pass. Whether you go or not is up to you. Saying that, he pulled out an ice blue token. I took the token. It was smooth and cool to the touch. That night, I had insomnia. In this high-temperature hell, I was actually holding a ticket to an ice and snow world. An ice lizard nuzzled against my hand. I patted its head and muttered to myself, "Tell me, am I being a bit too greedy?" It actually nodded its head. At that moment, decision. The next night, at 11 p.m., I clutched the token and passed through the rift. The feeling was wondrous. A chill wrapped around my whole body, followed by bond. Ayan quickly draped a cloak over me. The world before my eyes slowly became clear. It was a village made of ice houses. The transparent houses looked like crystal palaces. The streets were paved with hard-packed snow. The air was so fresh it made you want to cry. Welcome to Ice Town. The village chief was an elder with frostbite scars on his face, but his eyes were exceptionally bright. He led many townsfolk to welcome me at the village entrance and prepared a banquet in the largest ice house. Everyone sat around a warm stone fire, sharing the canned food I brought. In return, they served snow potato porridge, ice moss salad, and a blueberry called frost fruit. Sweet, with a hint of tartness, it melted in the mouth. Ayan's younger sister, Xiaoyu, timidly handed me an ice-sculpted little rabbit. Brother said you're a fairy from a warm place. I like you, fairy sister. The softest part of my heart was instantly struck. After the banquet, the chief led me up the observation tower. From here, you could overlook the entire valley. The distant glaciers shimmered with a cold, sinister light under the pale sun. Both of our worlds are heading towards destruction. Just in different ways. Chief, what are you trying to say? For the sake of our respective worlds, let's engage in genuine cooperation. Not just merely surviving by exchanging goods. We should exchange, research, and learn from each other, so that we can survive together. Subsequently, the chief took me to the village's ice cave library. The walls were embedded with thousands of thin ice slabs, carved with texts and patterns. This is our accumulation over 1,000 years, about how to survive in the severe cold. Build. On the plan. And among this, there must be wisdom on combating extreme heat. I suddenly realized this was no longer a simple barter system, but to civilizations struggling on the brink of the apocalypse, trying to grasp each other's hands. When I returned to the bunker again, my mind was exceptionally clear. The ice lizards gathered around me. I crouched down to pet them. Looks like we're going to be busy from now on, for the next month. I became the ambassador between two worlds. Every day, during the 2 hours the rift was open, I shuttled between the scorching heat and the bitter cold. From 4e town, I brought back ice, crystal mining techniques, low temperature architecture knowledge, and ancient records from the ice slabs. From my world, I brought solar energy principles, thermal material samples, and all the research on high temperature survival I could find. The most amazing thing was that Ice Town's ice moss seeds actually grew in my bunker. This moss not only provided light, but also purified the air. I planted a large patch of it inside the cave. The air became as fresh as a forest after rain. Ayan and Xiaoyu became my assistants. Xiaoyu had an astonishing affinity with ice crystals. She could distinguish their purity barehanded. Ayan, back in Ice Town, set up a temperature adaptation training camp using warm stones and special animal skins to let the townsfolk slowly adapt to slightly higher temperatures. At the same time, I didn't forget my own world. I had upgraded the ice fog defense line around the villa, designing a smart trigger system that would only go off for those approaching with malicious intent. I also set up an aid station outside the defense line. Every day, I dropped off some basic supplies and purified water cooled by ice crystals. Première cétarule. 1 portion per person per day. No fighting allowed. Violators bear the consequences. From that day on, more and more people came to the aid station. These people, struggling bitterly in the apocalypse, actually began to spontaneously line up in an orderly fashion. Some every day even volunteered to help maintain order. Sometimes I would think, if Li Yokai's family saw this scene, would they be so angry they'd come back to life? 3 months later, at dusk, when the rift opened, I entered Ice Town once again. According to the circuit principles you brought, combined with ice crystal energy, we activated the mechanism. The chief, holding a warm stone lantern, walked into a tunnel. At the end of the tunnel was a circular hall. In the center of the hall stood an ice sculpture. The carved woman held fire in one hand and ice in the other, with an expression of compassion on her face. A line of words was carved on the base of the statue. The chief studied it for a long time before translating it. When extreme heat and severe cold meet, hope will reappear. Remember, survival is not about monopolizing. Sharing. Civilization is not about conquering, but connecting. That night, the chief officially proposed a plan at the clan meeting. With a break, elukedatme. We want to use the rift as the core to build a stable relay station. Not only to connect our two worlds, but to search for other surviving worlds. High temperature, low temperature, flood, drought. The apocalypse has many faces, but the will to survive is the same. So, Miss Lee, are you willing to become the first guardian of the relay station? Everyone's gaze focused on me. Ow, Xiaoyu. Those familiar townsfolk and the ice lizards who had somehow crowded to the edge of the rift. In un instant, I remembered many things. I remembered the sweltering nights in the Lee family storage room. I remembered the early days of the apocalypse where people fought to the death for a sip of water. I remembered the final madness of the Lee family, and I remembered the hope in the eyes of those at the aid station. I'm willing, the chief smiled. That scar-covered face, bathed in the light of the warm stone, looked exceptionally warm. Later, I became the guardian of the relay station, living in the expanded bunker. One side of the bunker led to the high-temperature world. The aid station there had developed into a small community. The survivors helped each other and even started growing heat-resistant crops indoors. The other side of the bunker led to Ice Town. The townsfolk built greenhouses, using warm stones and special materials to plant the crops I brought over. The children had rosy cheeks again, and the elderly no longer worried about surviving the winter. As for that rift, we have now successfully connected to a third world. That is a planet submerged by floods.